Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wine Down Wednesday. I am Nia Noelle, your host, and I have a special guest tonight, a young lady that I've been knowing. I was trying to think earlier how long I have known her. It's quite some time. It might age us a little bit if I say the exact year, but a lot of you guys might recognize her. She's a local TV personality. Welcome to the stage, Alissa Henry.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm excited to talk to you. And you're right. If I think about how long we've known each other, it's a long time.
It's a long time. It's crazy. Time flies. We were talking about before we got on here about how these COVID times have made time blend. But even before that, I feel like time was just flying by. So it's been a long time that I've known you, and I'm super excited to have you here with me today because I just think
Yeah.
that your story is just so inspirational and just amazing. Like, I love to sit back and just watch all the stuff that you're doing. So,
Well, thank
um,
you.
well, I know how you got started, but can we talk about way back before you were even in media, how you even got into media? Let's start there.
Yeah. So it's funny talking to you because I feel like I went from a huge fan of yours to then getting to meet you and then getting to call you friend, Nia. So that is like so exciting to me, especially being from Columbus and growing up here. That's been my experience with a couple of different people here, but definitely you being one of them, which has been really cool to me personally. But for those people that don't know, like I said, I am from Columbus, born and raised here. I went to a lot of different schools in Columbus, but I graduated from Harvest Prep over on the southeast side, and then I went to OU for college in Athens, and then I started with the CW Columbus back in 2013, and so I've been working with the CW Columbus, ABC6, and Fox 28, and then I started working as the host of Cash Explosion, which is a lottery show that airs all over the state of Ohio. And now I left Fox 28 for a couple of years, raising my son, who's now 4. And I'm back at Fox 28. So now I do Cash Explosion and Fox 28. But I got a degree in journalism from Ohio University. So I like to say that's how I got into it. But really, I got into it from being on the CW Columbus as a CW star back in the day.
Yeah, so they don't do CW Star anymore, I don't think. No?
Nope, they don't. They did it for 7 years. Every year they would pick one person to represent, like as the face of the station for a year, and they would have auditions. So I tried out, and that year they said they were going to pick 2 people. So they picked
Mhm.
me and my colleague Cameron Fontana, and then they just kept us. So I always say we broke it. I'm just kidding. No, they knew they were going to end the program. We just happened to be the last people for that program.
Yeah, but you guys did such an amazing job. I was so happy that they picked both of you guys, because your chemistry
Thank you.
together is so good, and both of you guys are so entertaining. And now we get to see you like on TV every day doing almost the same thing, but a little more, just a little bit more refined. But I just
Yeah.
love that you guys, got to be on, and I was so excited when you got to be CW Star because I knew you before you were CW Star because you were
Hmm.
blogging and all that, and I loved your
Hmm.
blog. So
Thank
I
you.
just I just thought that I love that you guys were that. But and it was just funny though because it was like, oh no, you guys were their Seinfeld moment. I feel like for CW Star.
What's a Seinfeld moment?
Yeah, Seinfeld moment is when, Jerry Seinfeld stopped his show when it was at the height. So it was at the
Oh,
height of the
right.
ratings. It was like he was doing the best. So you guys were killing it, doing great. That's your Seinfeld moment. You're just like, I'm
I love
done. You stop at
it.
the height instead of letting things go down.
All right.
So
I
there
love
you go.
that. I love that.
You
The
guys are the
Seinfeld moment.
Seinfeld moment for that.
Yeah. And the people in Columbus that work in like radio and television, especially like those of us, I feel like it is like a really good group of people. And I feel like I said, like I feel like I grew up like alongside a lot of my peers now, and
Yeah.
also grew up like watching and listening, and so and I know that there are people now who might see me on TV or something like that, who eventually will also be my peer, you know, or be a friend. That's just really cool. So I like that.
No, it is totally true because, you know, I think I'm either this is my 15th year in media in Columbus or I'm going on 15. Blurred.
Wow.
But it's so funny though, because like there's people at the station now that are like, oh, like I listened to you when I was a kid. And I'm like, you know.
Hey, you were very young. You were very young on the radio. So it just
I was. Thank you, girl. I totally agree with you. But it speaks to volumes, you know, also having a career so long in a city as great as Columbus, you know what I mean? Like, it's a great thing, I think, being able to sustain a great media career in this town.
Especially in this climate. So being able to keep it going, keeping it going is, you know, it is a huge, tremendous blessing. So, and I think about how many years, even when I won the CW Star contest, that was 2013. And so now it's 2021. I'm like, wow, you know, I've really been having this thing going for like 7 years now. This is amazing. And before that, I worked for Mayor Coleman's reelection campaign. And that was like, before I got in TV, that was the coolest job I ever did. Like working for his reelection campaign was amazing. I got to know a lot of people that way. In fact, I think we met back then. But that was really cool. So, and now he's not even mayor anymore, but he's still my mayor in my heart, Mayor Coleman.
We still call him mayor. Look, I was like, hey, Mayor Coleman. I saw him a couple weeks ago at the Fashion Week Columbus finale show, and everybody was like, Mayor Coleman, like, he might as well change
mayor for life.
Mayor.
Mayor for life, for sure.
How do you think that working for his reelection campaign, do you think that helped you prepare you for media?
I think it helped me in a lot of ways. So like I said, I grew up in Columbus, but it's interesting because when I worked for his campaign, first of all, he would go all over the city to go to all these different campaign events. And so they would send me, like my boss would send me a message like, hey, meet Mayor Coleman at this place. And I'm like, I don't know how to get there. And they're like, aren't you from here? I mean, it would happen all the time. And so I'm like, yes, but when you're from here, you stick to your little neighborhood, you know? So I learned a lot about like how big Columbus is and all the good things that Columbus has done and how it's developed and grown. Like I remember going to City Center, now it's Columbus Commons. And so working for the mayor helped me not only learn Columbus really well, but also learn what makes Columbus great. And that definitely transitioned into when I became a feature reporter on ABC6 and Fox 28. One of my jobs was to feature all the things that makes Columbus great. So I would even think of like, okay, I remember I did that event with Mayor Coleman. Maybe I could feature that event, or I know this place, or I've been to that place, or I know this person because during the campaign. So it definitely helped me like know more about Columbus. It also gave me a different view of political campaigns, but in a good way, but still gave me a different view of politics and how it all works. So it's a lot of fundraising, a lot more fundraising than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
So even for somebody
got to pay for the TV ads.
Guaranteed to win. Right. All those TV ads. And like Mayor Coleman, like we knew he was going to win, but still he did run a legitimate campaign to win. So I think I learned a lot from that too. And I also did social media for him. So I learned more about like social media that's not just me tweeting whatever I want to tweet, but also like how to do it professionally. So yeah.
So what do you think is your favorite part, since you were talking about doing feature reporting, about being a feature reporter? Because it's different than an anchor and that type of media position.
Yes, I actually have a thought on that. Hang on, because I wrote down, I was reading this book. I read a lot of books. And so I was reading this book earlier, and the girl in the book had a quote that I loved. She said, let me find it, because the girl in the book is a reporter. And she said, in this business, professional wins are too often tied up in someone else's tragedy. And that spoke to me so much, because I feel blessed that has not been the case for me. Because it's true, when you work in what they call hard news, a lot of your professional wins are when you're covering a mass shooting, you're covering, you know, where a police officer kills someone, or you're covering just like a fire, an earthquake that killed all these people, the building collapsing in Florida. That's what you're covering when you're a reporter. And when you cover those big stories, that helps you progress professionally. And so when you look at a reporter's bio, they'll tell you all the stuff they covered. Like I was there at 9/11, or I covered this and that. And so I feel fortunate in my trajectory. My professional wins have not been tied up in other people's tragedy. And I think that's a huge blessing for me personally, because I get the opportunity to talk about the positive things, the business that is opening, the festival that's going on. Gabby Douglas is training in Columbus, and even with my job as the Cash Explosion host, same thing. Like I get to be there with someone winning the lottery, literally. So I feel like that's been a tremendous blessing, is that when people who I've met in the course of my job, I'm not meeting them on the worst day of their lives. Nothing against the reporters that do that, because they are fabulous at it. And honestly, you do need to know what's going on. And they do a good job of being empathetic and caring and, bringing us those big stories. But I feel fortunate that my personal professional wins have not been tied up in people's tragedies, because that's tough. That's a very tough job. And I'm fortunate that I still get to do this career without that being the case.
No, I think that's totally amazing, because even though, I'm on the radio side, there are times when people don't realize how heavy it is for us to report these types of things. And, the old wives' tale that deaths come in three and all that kind of stuff. We notice that because we're reporting a lot of people passing and all these sad things happening in between playing their favorite song and stuff like that. So I think that people don't realize what, like you said, what a true blessing that is, to be able to have the happy side of media. My goodness.
Yeah. And even with my job, I'm still at the news station. So I still see everything. Like I remember when Reagan Tokes, when that, the young woman who was walking home after work, and I mean, if you know Reagan Toke's story, I'm not going to go into it. I had the privilege of meeting her mom, and her mom was so strong and so sweet. But I remember I wasn't covering that story, but the reporters that were covering it were giving us updates like through email. And I was like, I mean, I wasn't covering it, but I was definitely invested in that, So I feel like it's a hard job. It's a hard business. That's why I give a lot of credit to people who do cover that side of it, because it is tough, because you're trying to, you're trying to let people know what's going on, but also, I mean, that is like a really heavy stuff that you're seeing and reporting on every single day, not to mention the people who are actually experiencing it. Those people are the ones that I have the most sympathy for, of course.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. Now, aside from that, what is something that you think people would be surprised at as far as being a TV personality working media?
I think people always think that someone's doing our hair and our makeup and our outfits, and they're not. So if you don't like somebody's hair or their makeup, it is all on them. Or if you think they look fabulous, like I always shout out Yolanda Harris. That's my favorite person. I always shout her out. She always looks amazing, and she does her own hair, her own makeup, her own outfits, and she's been doing that for 25 years now. So
yeah,
I think people think that like TV people also, like reporters like me, you don't make that much money. Like I feel like people think like, oh, you're on TV, you make all this money. No. Some people do. Some people make really good money, but it ain't everybody. That's for sure.
Yeah, people automatically think that if you're radio or TV, that you're rich and that you have so much money and that you're this major celebrity and have like all these zeros in your bank account. And I'm like,
no, when I went to Chase Bank, I was getting paid probably more. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's not like, the most lucrative industry. For some people it is. If you're Robin Roberts, you're making millions. But for the rest of us, no.
Robin Roberts had to build up to that too. She
exactly.
Started like that. Yeah, totally. So Cash Explosion. I don't know if you know this about me, but I love game shows and I love going to shows and watching, like, I don't know what it is, but every time I see these commercials, first of all, I get excited when I see the commercials because they always have you on the commercials. And I'm like, it always looks so much fun. Is it really that much fun at the show?
Oh my gosh, you should come to a taping. Like it is so fun. So Cash Explosion is the only show, I believe, that tapes in front of a live studio audience. So the way the show works is we tape 2 times a month. So we tape on like a Tuesday and Wednesday. We tape in the morning and afternoon, and that airs every Saturday night. So there's some little TV like behind the scenes for you. And so it tapes here in Columbus. And it is really fun because the contestants come, I mean, they literally draw names in Cleveland. I have nothing to do with it, but they draw names and those people get to come and be on the show. And if you're on the show, you win at least $6,100. So when you see people like, what's behind three, $4,000, what's behind five, $8,000, those people actually win that money. And then the people at the top get to play in this cash challenge game at the end. And then somebody in that part of the game wins $50,000. So someone wins like all that money every single week. It is amazing. And I love being a part of it because like you get to hear people's stories about how this money changed their life. And I
Yes.
mean, and and they bring like their friends and they've got signs and t-shirts. It is so much fun. Like that is one thing that I'm like, I don't even know, like, I feel really blessed to get to do this show because it's been on as long as I've been alive. So it's really crazy to host this iconic show. And it's so exciting to see people actually literally win the lottery.
Yeah, I do want to come. I've been to one live show taping before and I had so much fun. It's something about the energy of being in a studio audience that is just so much fun. But I definitely I'm going to come and I'll probably hold up a sign with your name on it because I'm just kooky like that.
That'd be so funny. Like, Alyssa's not a contestant, but that would be cool. I'd be like, hey girl, hey.
I'll be like, hey girl, hey. So how do people get in the drawing to be a contestant on the show? I know somebody's probably watching and wondering how do I get to play? I want to be in the audience goofy, but how do you play?
So you go to a lottery retailer. So like the gas station, I think Meyer has tickets, Kroger might have tickets, but you get the actual cash explosion ticket and then you scratch it off. On the scratch off ticket, you could win money right there. You could win like $5,000 on the scratch off, or you can get entry 3 times. So if you get entry 3 times, you fill out the card in the back, you mail it, or you go online and put your information in online. And then every Saturday night, they do a drawing and they draw names. And so literally it could be your first ticket. It could be like your 1,000th ticket. So that's the tough thing. Because some people are like, I've been playing for all these years. And some people are like, this is my first time ever playing. Someone gave me this ticket. I'm on the show. So it's just getting the ticket and literally the luck of the draw if you get on or not.
Okay. All right. See, that's something I did not know. You know, I just see it and I see people on there and I get excited for them. But there's folks, go get your lottery tickets and just roll the dice, not literally, but figuratively.
Right.
And
I love when people tell me. People will message me and say, hey, I got an entry ticket. I'm like, yes, turn it in. You can be on the show. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
I don't play the lottery much. Like I'll play like when Mega Millions is like huge just because of the pressure. But I'm always that person like it's the pressure. Every now and then I'll get one where you're like, you know, you win $5 or something like that. But I'm the person that never goes back and gets the money.
You got to go back and get the money. You got to go back. I think a lot of people do that though. I feel like the unclaimed funds thing is out of control, but you got to get the money because you just take it. I think people think of it as more than it is. Like you take it, I think you take it back to the retailer, like back to the gas station. They'll give you the money. If it's a certain amount, you might have to go to the lottery like place, but they have tons of them, like all over Columbus. So if you ever get money, like go get it. My sister always wins. She wins like $100, $200. I'm like, really? She like wins all the time.
My aunt was lucky like that. My aunt and my grandparents, they always played, like they would play birthdays. So if they hit your birthday, they'd give you a cut of their winnings and stuff. But they were just like lucky people. And I'd be like, why didn't it rub off on me? Like, I don't know, $2, $5, whatever. And I'll be like, oh, I'll take my ticket back. And I never do. It's horrible.
You got to take it back. Sometimes those non-winning tickets. Sometimes they do promotions where if you have a non-winning ticket, you get in a drawing for like a Jeep or something. I mean, it's like, there's a lot of ways
I've been missing out on my little blessings.
You're missing out.
That's so crazy. So you're back on Fox 20A and, you know, you took some time off a little bit from Fox, but now you're back. How was it coming back? Because I know a lot of people may not have known, but you were off, you know, raising your beautiful little son, spending some time with those precious years. But, you know, people talk about leaving work and coming back, in particular moms. Was it hard for you to come back fully into work the way you did?
I think people try to scare you and they're like, oh, if you're a mom and you take time off, you can never get back. You know, they try to like scare you into what they call not off ramping. Off ramping is when you are on the ramp and you off ramp, like you get out of the workforce or whatever. For me personally, I was fortunate that with Cash Explosion, even though it's part-time, it was still like a job. So I was never completely unemployed. So I'm thankful for that. But there was some times where I was like, at first I was like glad. I'm like, you know what? I'm exhausted. Like I need to be home with this baby. My son was born 10 weeks early, so he was premature. And so he was in the hospital for a while. And then when he got home, we had like a nanny. And then I don't know, I was like overwhelmed by the whole baby thing and working thing. And so I decided to take time off. I intended only to take a year off. And a year turned into 2, turned into 3. So I do see how people will like not go back because time just starts going so fast. And the pandemic happened, and I was like,
Yes.
oh, then I started thinking like, I'm never gonna go back to work, just. And then I was like, should I go back to my old station? Should I try to go somewhere else? Should I move out of town? Like, what should I do? And I kind of mentally explored all those options. But going back to Fox 28 was best case scenario in the sense of it's somewhere that I already know a lot of the people I work with. I already know like the management. I already
Yes.
know like kind of how everything works. And I was able to kind of go back to my old job, not completely, because I used to work for Good Day Columbus and Good Day Marketplace. Now I just do the lifestyle show. So it's not completely the same, but it's similar enough. And my husband works there, so that's pretty cool. I get to see him. But and it's tough because you have to think to yourself like, should I stay off work longer? Wait till my son is like in kindergarten or first grade? Like, did I stay out of the workforce for too long? Like, it's just a lot of like stress. And I always say it's great if you can look at somebody else and see like how it worked out for somebody else, and that way it can work out for you too. But there
Yes.
aren't a lot of examples of people getting, especially out of media, TV, radio, and then getting back in. There are some examples, but there's not a lot of examples of that. And I don't know if it's because they're not getting hired or it's because they don't want to go back. So I had some tough days and nights a few times where I was like, what did I do? And then other times being like, I don't want to go back. So it's just kind of, I enjoyed my time off with my son. I loved it. I had an Instagram called Toddler Around Town, and we go
Yes.
all over Columbus and do all this fun stuff. So I definitely enjoyed my time off with him, but I was excited and ready to go back to work full time.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I wanted to touch on that because I know that there's so many other moms in media or out of media that are in that same situation, taking time out because quite frankly, we all know daycare is so expensive. Like I have a
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend that's just getting back in the workforce because it was cheaper for her to stay home, her
Yeah.
more than her whole paycheck was going to daycare. So, there's women out there in that predicament and just knowing that it's going to be okay and you can
Yeah.
get back in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the workforce will welcome you. You may have to
Mm-hmm.
bust down the door, but you know,
I think they say I like the quote that says when something ends, you're not starting over. You're not starting over from scratch. You're starting over from experience. I like that because you're not starting over. You're starting over from experience. And two things about that. One, I'm like you could never get this time back, and you can
yes,
always go back to work. But also, I like to we'll just talk like friends. I like to caution my friends from a financial standpoint when my friends are like, well, especially my friends who are in two income relationship situations.
yes,
I always say don't leave work and become a stay-at-home mom just because the amount you make at work is like basically absorbed by daycare because you are missing out on like increases in income. So like if you're saying, well, daycare is $15,000 a year, we'll say $30,000 a year. Daycare is $30,000 a year. I only make $40,000 a year, so it's a waste. Yes, but no, because if you're going to be off for 5 years and in 5 years you could be making 50, 60, $70,000 a year. Like you have to think of it in a long term, like
yeah.
not to quit just for financial reasons. And if you are in a two income situation with a partner, then think of that daycare money as coming out of his check and not yours. So that's why I tell people. So I think
Ah,
there's two different ways of looking at it because I think that you do hear a lot of women saying like, well, daycare is absorbing my whole income. I'm like, well, but with that said, if that's not your only reason, if you genuinely want to stay home with your child, you won't get this time back and you can always work. Like you can be 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old greeting at Walmart, you can always work, but you can't always have like your baby, your 1 year old, your 2 year old like that. I
yeah.
also know, I'm gonna keep talking, but
No,
I
you're
also
fine.
know one of my friends, she's a mom of older children, and she told me, she said it's never easier. Like In our
Mm.
minds, we think, well, the baby's 2 years old. That's the best time to be at home. But she's like, it's not easier when they're 10 and they're 11. They have all this school stuff going on. They can physically say they want you to be at home, because they can talk, and tell you they want you to be at home. So she said, as a mom, and I don't know this from experience, but she said it's never easier to be a working mom, whether your kid is a baby or a teenager. And that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What would be your advice to a working mom? Because even though you were just doing Cash Explosion while you were home with your
Mm-hmm.
son, you were still a working mom. What's
Mm-hmm.
the main advice you would give to a mom that is starting that working mom venture?
I would say that you can do a lot of things, but not at the same time. So I think that that you kind of are prioritizing, and if you're able to delegate out, like when my son was a baby, I had a nanny and I had a lady who came and cleaned our house every other week, and it was expensive and I had like no money, but but to me that was worth it because I needed somebody to watch my son when he was a baby, and I didn't want to spend the time off of work like cleaning up all the time. So I hired a lady who came every other week to clean, and it was so great. And so I don't have that anymore, but when he was a baby, it was like amazing. So I think if you could delegate, that's good. I also think that if you have a partner in your situation, like also let him do things too. Like you're not the only person who can like wake up in the middle of the night. You're not the only person who can go to the grocery store. You're not the only person who can like take him to school. Like I think that it's important for both people to like be contributing and to the child rearing. I think a lot of times the mom becomes the primary parent, and when you're working too, it's too much. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, it's too much. Like he needs to be doing some stuff too. He can do it. He can go to the grocery store. He can do it. He can take care of the kid. He can make the kid lunch, dinner. He can do all that. So I think empowering your partner to help is important, and I think also delegating when you can, just knowing that you can't do it all, and it's okay.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about you, especially on social media, is how you share your journey and your parenting. And I say this because a lot of people just share the pretty. To me, you share the real. Like, you're like,
I
I
try
went to
to.
the grocery store with my son and he's turning out on me.
And
I
then
saw
somebody
you the
messaged me
other
like,
day
you
talking
don't
about
want to you don't want to raise a spoiled child. Somebody messaged me and said that. I was like, first of all, I do want to raise a spoiled child, so how dare you? Just kidding. But how people are like, just you shouldn't let your kid have everything in the grocery store. I'm like, look, I didn't want him crying, so here's a banana, here's a pouch, here's everything. But I think that I try to be like honest, and I try not to dump on people. Nobody wants like all the horrible things about your day, but nobody also wants like, here's my perfect lunch I give my kid every day. Like, goodbye. No, people do not want that. People want real. So I try to be honest without being like a Debbie Downer about it.
No, you're not a Debbie Downer, but I love just how honest you are, because there's so many people that are out on the internet and just painting this perfect picture with a bow on it. And my son's so beautiful in this picture. And I'm like, this family picture you posted, we know that there was 100 pictures because you have a toddler and taking pictures with toddlers is difficult. And it was not that beautiful. And this is probably
Right.
the one picture out of all of them that came out cute. Like, come on,
Right.
let's keep it real.
That's what I think when people are posting their kids' lunch. They post these bento boxes and all these perfect lunches. I'm like, I want to see what that kid actually ate, because you have all this stuff in here. I'm like, no, show me a kid that only ate the gummy bears. He didn't eat anything else. That's what I want to see, the real stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
I try to do that.
I think you do an amazing job of that, because it's just so
Thank you.
real. And then sharing advice and asking other people their opinion on stuff, and just staying, authentic to yourself. I think that that's just so good. And also, to me, I don't know about you, it's just easier to be authentic in yourself on social media, because I just,
Absolutely.
I ain't got time for all that. Like,
Right. You're very honest on social media too, and I like that. You've always been like that, and I love it.
I just don't have the energy to be all buttoned up, all perfect all the time.
Right.
And just like, I'll be like, y'all gonna get what y'all gonna get. Like,
This is me. This is what you're gonna get. I
yes,
love it.
absolutely. Now, I want to talk about your hobbies, because you have some really cool hobbies.
Oh, thanks.
You're a runner, which I wish I
Hmm.
could be a runner. I physically cannot do it. I have
Oh,
plantar fasciitis.
Oh,
Not
it's a
happening.
no. It's a no.
And no, not at all. And then all of your book reading. I know you mentioned it earlier, but how many are you do you have a goal this year? I know one year you did you do like 100? Was it 100?
Uh-huh. So I know it sounds like I hate, like I don't, I feel weird saying that out loud because people are like, what? But
No,
so
I think it's
I've always
awesome.
been a reader since I was like 3 years old. I love reading, but I never really made reading a priority. A few years ago, I said it'd be really awesome if I read 30 books. And so, and that's, 30 books is a lot, but I had discovered
Yeah.
audiobooks, and I realized that if I read a book, listened to a book on the way back and forth to work, it was like 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. That's an hour. A lot of books are 6 to 9 hours long. So I could read a book in about a week, week and a half. And so I think in January I had read like 4 books, and I was like, let's see if we can make this happen. So that year I read 30 books. And then last year I made a goal of reading 100 books and the entire Bible. It worked out great because it was 2020, a lot of stay-at-home order. So that helped a lot. And I read a lot of audiobooks. And so I did 109. So this year, my goal is 110. So, which is a lot, but I'm also behind on every show. So if you ask me about shows, I haven't seen it. So I thought you
See,
can't do everything at the same time.
no, 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 you cannot. But I think that that's an awesome thing because, we've, because of technology and everything, we've gotten so far away from the love of a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I love going to the library. I know you do too. I
Yes.
love checking out books. I love books. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, with work and life, I just haven't been able to dedicate that time. I used to. I never did 100, but I
Yeah.
definitely probably did 20, 30 back in the day, especially school
Which is
days.
amazing.
I
Yes.
love books. I was that girl in the summer reading program and doing all
Yeah.
that stuff. I loved it. So I just think it's so amazing, and that you share your cute little pile every month. Like, look what I read. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And I just think it's amazing. How many have you done this year so far?
This year I've done 101. So my goal is
Oh, almost
110. I'm probably
there.
gonna go past that already. Like I'm probably, because it's
Yeah.
already October. But I also, like, today I needed to catch up on a million little things. So instead of listening to my book, I watched a million little things instead. So I need to catch up on my shows. And so I'll probably slow down on reading. But I just love it. And I think that I've made it kind of like a habit in terms of, like, I always have a book that I'm listening to, a book I'm reading physically. I know what book I'm reading next. I keep track of all the books that I read. I follow a bunch of people on Instagram who read a lot. So then that gives me ideas for books. It's kind of like anything else. Like, if you are really into it, like, I follow this mom, her house is like super clean. She cleans all the time. And I was thinking, like, man, how does she keep her house so clean? But then I was thinking, it's like anything else. If that's like what you focus on, then like you can do it. So I feel like with reading, it's just been something I really focused on. And the quantity of books doesn't really matter as long as you're reading something that you really like. And I think everybody should read at least one book a year. I think everyone can do that.
What's been your favorite book this year so far?
Whoa, I feel like I should know that on the top of my head, right? I liked Bamboozled by Jesus by Yvonne Orji, which is that how you say her name? Orji? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so she is in the show Insecure. I have not seen Insecure. So I haven't seen it. I guess her
It's
character
that
is like
what
horrible on that show.
the beauty is there's this thing called on demand. So you can watch it at any
Right, I
time. The
know, I
last season
know.
starts this weekend. You
Oh
got
my
time.
gosh. Everyone on Twitter talks about it. Like, everyone talks about it. And I
It's
haven't seen it, but I
amazing.
love that book. It's a book about her career, but then she like also puts in like stories from the Bible and things like that. So it's
Mhm.
really cool. I like that one. Um Fiction wise, right now I'm reading, I read Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. I like that book. It's actually a book about a TV reporter, and she like wants to have a baby and her boyfriend doesn't want to marry her. It's like a fiction book. It's really good. Right now I'm reading a book called We Are Not Like Them, and it's a fiction book, but it's about a another book about a Black TV reporter, and her best friend is white and her husband is a cop, and her husband shoots an unarmed Black man. So it's about like that. And it is really
Ooh.
intense, and I can't stand the wife, but but so far, but I really like the book. So I don't know, I read all kind of books. I read like minimalism books. I want to be a minimalist even though I like shopping. I read personal finance books. I Will Teach You to Be Rich is a really good personal finance book. So yeah, I read all kinds of books.
Yeah, no, I love that you share those and everything like that. And I literally jotted down a couple titles that you just jotted out. I was like, "Ooh, that
Oh,
sounds good." Like,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, no, I
Atomic
think that,
Habits is a really good one. If you like nonfiction books, Atomic Habits is a really good one. It's about like building habits that will help you be more successful in your life. I like that one.
ooh, hold on,
Nonfiction though. Yeah.
Atomic Habit. I
Atomic
like,
Habits. And if you
yeah.
feel like your house is a mess, your life is a mess, Managing Your Home Without Losing Your Mind by Dana White. I listened to that book on audio and I thought it was so good. There's so many books. There's like suspense thrillers. I have an Instagram called Alissa Reads It All. And I try to post all the books on there because I do read a big variety. So like nonfiction, fiction, romance books, historical fiction, personal finance, suspense thrillers, minimalism, cleaning, organizing, all of it.
Well, if you ever like want to watch a show about minimalism and cleaning, you should look at Marie Kondo on
Oh,
Netflix.
I've seen that. I love that. I love that. Like, I want her to come to my house. My husband said if she came and looked in my closet, she would quit.
I laugh because I relate to your closet because I love fashion. So my closet, child,
He
I'm
said
trying.
she would be in there like, this is too much.
I
I
know.
love that show. I haven't seen the new one though. There's a new one, right? It's like The
Yeah, there's
Joy
a
of
new
Work or
one.
something like that. Have you watched that one?
I haven't watched the new one, but one thing that I did take from her show is a lot of the folding methods for her stuff. I'm starting to do
Really?
that, and I
Oh,
love
it's
it.
too much. It's too
I
really.
love
It's just too much.
it.
She's folding into little pockets. I'm like, just
Well, I started with like my bed sheets. So start
okay.
with one little thing and then you can add then I started with t-shirts. So little things that make
Can
sense
you
for
fold
you.
a fitted sheet like she does?
I'll send you the
See?
video. There's a
Yes.
video. And
Yes.
literally every time I do my sheets, because sometimes I forget one step, I'll turn on the YouTube video and I do it. And it makes me so happy when I open my cupboard, my linen closet, and
Yeah.
they're perfect and everything like that.
I
So
need to learn that because yeah, her folding techniques are cool. I also watched the show The Home Edit Girls. They
yes,
did they went to all these celebrities' houses and did all the organizing. I did the books by color and then like I did
I did the
Alexander,
books
my
by
son's
color
books
at
by
one
color.
point, and then
Yeah. It's
it
too
fell by the
much.
wayside.
It's too
But
much. But I
it's
love those
beautiful.
shows. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. It's fun to read those kind of things, and I like to take or watch the show and take little
Hmm.
bits. Like, I would love to be that person that did everything and then kept it perfect, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I just allow myself that piece to take one little thing or two little things from them and then just enjoy those things. So
Yes. There's a
maybe
lady
one
in
day you'll
Columbus who like will come to your house and organize. I follow her on Instagram and like I really want her to come to my house. Like her stuff is amazing. And she's right here in Columbus.
Oh, I would love that, but I would be a little embarrassed maybe in the beginning and then trying to keep that. Oh
Trying
God.
to maintain it. Yeah, that's the tough part for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So running and marathons and all that jazz, how'd you get into doing those and why?
So when I first left ABC 6 and Fox 28, I left in August of 2018, and my son was a year old. And like, I'm like, okay, I'm at home. Here we are. Just like, what do we do now? And then I just noticed I was just sitting there holding him on the couch for like hours. And then I think in December, I saw, and this is going to sound so vain, but I saw a picture of myself and I was like, I need to like get this together. So I literally signed up for a half marathon. So it was December when this happened. I signed up for a half marathon in April called Cap City Half, and it comes up every spring. And I joined up with a group called Black Girls Run here in Columbus, found them on Facebook. I used to run with them years ago, but I hadn't run with them in a while. And there was a girl in the group named Gina. And so me and her would run intervals. So that means you like walk for a minute, run for a minute, walk for a minute, run for a minute, and then walk for a minute, run for 2 minutes, walk for a minute, run for 3 minutes. So we did that all the way up until we ran the half marathon in April. So then I kept it going from there. Again, this is 2019 by the time the race came around. And then that fall, I ran a full marathon. So I just got into running. I met some other girls in my neighborhood, and we meet at like 5 o'clock in the morning. those
Girl.
girls, those girls run rain, shine, snow, sleet. not ice, but like pretty much anything. They're like, let's meet up and run. So I started running with them. My friend Gina, she moved, but I got a new group to run with, and I love them. And it's some other moms in the area. We just run and talk, and yeah, we trained for a marathon together. I just ran a half marathon in Cleveland with them a couple weeks ago. So yeah.
So my deal, even though I know I could never be a runner because of my plantar fasciitis, but
Okay.
Alissa, we're Black women with natural hair. How are you doing that? Like, what is the trick? Because I know that there's another Black woman that probably wants to do it, or just regular exercise. How are you maintaining that?
It is a struggle. Now, when I was a stay-at-home mom, mostly, like I still did cash explosion, but it wasn't every day. My hair was a hot mess, like consistently. And before the tapings, I would go get my hair done. And so when I started going back to the station, I'm like, how am I gonna keep my hair nice? And basically I decided two things. One, I cared way more about like my body than my hair. And that was like a really tough, like realization I had to come to. Like, what do I care about more? You know, and it had to be, I mean, for me, I care about my body more than my hair. I still need to keep my hair nice, but I put more heat on my hair than like probably is recommended. But my hair
Yeah.
has to look nice every day.
Yeah.
I at one point I tried braids. They were like really long. I've done my hair natural a few times. Even natural though, when you wear it curly, like how your hair is, your hair looks fabulous. You can't just go out there and run, you know, and think it's gonna look the same. I think people have an
No,
idea that it will, and it's like no. But
no.
I also like I take my hair and put it up in a really like smooth bun. I twist it like I need to do a video because I like twist it around with
Yeah.
no ponytail holder. Once it gets down like this, I put a ponytail holder on top and I tie the ponytail holder twice. Then I put a headband and lay it down so it like stays like that. And then when I get home, I take a blow dryer and do like this with it still in the bun so that's not wet when I comb it down. And I swear that works. I know it sounds crazy, but that works. And
No,
then
I had to ask because, like, that's the thing. Like, we struggle with as Black women. We want to do
I
these
know.
things, but the hair.
And I feel like people don't really get it because some of the girls that I run with are white, most of them actually. And I feel like for them, like I don't want to run in the rain. I'm like, no, I cannot run in the rain. Like I cannot get my hair wet. Like it's like not even like a I don't want to. No, like unless it's Saturday. If I have to go to work the next morning, I can get my hair wet. Period.
Yeah.
Like, but I also have gotten better at like washing and blow drying and straightening my own hair because it is expensive. When I go to the hair salon, if I go to the hair salon on Tuesday, I'm definitely not running on Wednesday. Like, just not going to do it. And then maybe
No,
Thursday or
that's
Friday
throwing
I
money
will.
away.
Right. I'm like, so it definitely is a struggle, but I mean, but it's doable. It's definitely doable. You can still run and still keep your hair nice. So hopefully I'm proof of that. If you see me on TV with my hair looking a hot mess, sorry. Sorry.
I've never really seen you look a hot mess. Even when you're like, I look a hot mess, I'm like, girl, you look regular. Like,
It's a filter on Instagram story. It's a filter, a very strong one. It's always up there in the corner. You can see which one I used.
Dale, you look regular. You don't look a
Thank you.
hot mess. Like, I know hot mess. That's not hot mess. Well, please tell everybody how they can find you, follow you, and all that good stuff.
I am Alissa Henry TV on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm on Instagram the most, as Nia, you well know. I'm on Instagram stories like all day, but I love like talking to people on there and you know, just sharing stuff and following back and all that. So yeah, find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at Alissa Henry TV. Twitter is tough because in our business we can't just say whatever we want to say, and Twitter really baits me. So I have to like step back. I have to step back because the thing about Twitter is that when you're on there, you're seeing the people that you follow, but other people are seeing what you tweet, and like you're in this echo chamber that this person isn't in. So you think you're just like tweeting what everybody else is tweeting, and no, you're saying something that is like gonna get you fired. So
Or liking somebody's stuff. Like,
yeah,
because then I'll see Alissa liked, and I'll be like, oh,
I know.
like,
I know.
girl.
It's like what? Yeah. So you have to definitely be strategic. So Twitter, I'm not as active as far as tweeting, but I do look at it a lot. Instagram, I'm more active on there. So, and then Facebook, I'm active on there too. So yeah.
Follow her, tweet her, but tweet nice things and, and message her on Instagram. Thank you so much for taking time out. I know this isn't typically family time. So, you know, thanks for taking time out to come talk with me. I just think your story is so inspirational and you always have like great gems and good conversations. So I'm glad
Thank you.
time and hang out with me tonight.
Thank you for having me, Nia. I will always be, when you message me to come do this, I'm like, yes, I am there for sure. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everybody that's watching. In 2 weeks, I will be back for another episode of Wind Down Wednesday with another amazing guest. I hope you have a great evening.